For 3,000 years, the galaxy believed humans were extinct. For 3,000 years, peace ruled the stars. And then one silent moment shattered everything. Because humanity was never gone. They were waiting. A galaxy that forgot war. The galaxy had enjoyed peace for so long that war had become a myth. Entire civilizations rose and fell without ever seeing a battlefield. Children learned history that spoke of ancient conflicts as childish mistakes of primitive times. Trade routes crossed the stars freely. Worlds shared science, art, and culture. Fear was something taught in books, not felt in life. The Stellar Accord, an alliance of 11 powerful alien civilizations, governed everything. They believed peace was permanent. They believed themselves wise. They believed the past was buried. They were wrong. High Chancellor Vila Thane stood alone in the observation chamber above the capital world Aurelian Prime. His species lived long lives, and he had lived longer than most. His silver-grey skin had faded with age, and his 4 dark eyes reflected the stars beyond the glass. In his hand was a data crystal. It contained one sentence. The containment veil has collapsed. Vila's hands trembled. He had waited centuries to never read those words. The truth buried under peace. 3,000 years ago, the galaxy had made a choice. Back then, humanity was young, curious, aggressive, loud, and emotional. Earth was nothing special. A small blue world orbiting an average star. Humans had barely stepped beyond their home system when the Stellar Accord found them. The Accord believed in control. Order. Silence. First contact had gone wrong. No one publicly recorded what truly happened. The official version claimed misunderstanding and tragedy. But Vila remembered the truth passed down in whispers between chancellors. Human civilians died. Human cities burned. And humans responded. They did not surrender. They did not beg. They learned. Every ship destroyed made their next fleet stronger. Every weapon used against them was studied, copied, and improved. Where other species followed doctrine, humans rewrote it in blood and fire. They fought like beings who refused to accept extinction. After 40 brutal years, the Accord realized something horrifying. They were losing. So they did what rulers do when they fear defeat. They lied. They built the Veil, a massive quantum prison around the Sol system. A wall of twisted spacetime designed to last forever. No signal could pass through. No ship could escape. Humanity was sealed inside its own star system. The galaxy was told humans were destroyed. History erased them. Peace was rebuilt on that lie. The silence that should never have broken. Vila turned away from the stars as alarms echoed softly through the chamber. His aide, Sonara, rushed in, her eyes wide with fear. "Chancellor," she said, struggling to steady her voice, "we've lost contact with all Veil monitoring stations." Vila closed his eyes. For centuries, no one had truly checked those stations. Why would they? The Veil was perfect. Humanity was contained. Forgotten. "Show me the last transmission," Vila said. The hologram appeared. Where the Veil once twisted reality into an impossible wall, there was nothing. No barrier. No distortion. Only open space. And there, drifting calmly, was a ship. The ship that changed everything. The vessel was enormous, larger than cities, larger than moons. Its surface flowed like liquid metal, reshaping itself constantly, as if alive. Light bent around it. Sensors struggled to understand it. This was not alien technology. This was not Accord technology. This was something else. Then Vila saw the symbol on its hull. A blue and white emblem. A circle. Lines crossing it. Earth. Humanity's mark. His breath caught in his throat. They broke the Veil," Sonara whispered. "No," Vila said quietly. "They outgrew it." Then another symbol activated. A glowing curve of light beneath the human emblem. A simple shape. A smile. Something about it chilled Vila deeper than any weapon ever had. Humans were smiling. The galaxy holds its breath. Within hours, reports flooded in from across known space. Human ships appeared everywhere. Not attacking. Not communicating. Just arriving. Above trade worlds. Above military stations. Above capital planets. Perfectly positioned. Perfectly silent. The Stellar Accord convened an emergency council. Fear filled the chamber like smoke. "They must be destroyed now," shouted one warlord. "We can't fight them," another voice replied. "They're already everywhere." "What do they want?" someone asked. No one answered. Vila finally stood. "We imprisoned them," he said slowly. "We erased them. We pretended they were monsters, without asking what monsters become when given 3,000 years to think." The chamber fell silent. Outside, beyond the walls of the council hall, human ships waited. Patient. Watching. Smiling. The question that terrified the stars. Vila returned to his private chamber late that cycle. He stared once more at the image of the human vessel. They could have attacked instantly. They didn't. They could have destroyed entire worlds. They didn't. That was what terrified him most. Humans never wasted time when they were angry. Which meant, they were no longer angry. They were something else now. And the galaxy had no idea what humanity had become. The silence before the storm. The human ships did not fire. They did not speak. They simply hovered above the galaxy like a calm shadow that covered everything. On Aurelian Prime, streets filled with frightened citizens staring at the sky. The human vessel above the capital stayed perfectly still, like it had all the time in the universe. No engines. No heat. No radio noise. Sensors returned nothing useful, just a strange blank, as if the ship refused to be measured. High Chancellor Vila Thane watched from the Council's command center as military leaders argued. "They're scanning us," barked Marshal Krex Varuan, a tall warrior from the iron-skinned Dravari species. "Give me permission to strike. One volley. Test their shields." "And if their shields don't exist?" asked Scholar Ilian Mo, calm but pale. "If they operate on physics we can't touch?" Krex slammed a fist onto the table. "Then we die anyway." Vila raised a hand. "No one fires." They all stared at him. "Because," Vila continued, voice low, "if they wanted us dead, we would already be dead. They arrived everywhere at once. They could have dropped our defense grids into the sun in the same moment. Instead, they are waiting." The capsule was smooth and dark, warm like living skin. No seams. No markings. Sonara stepped forward, trembling. "It's inviting us to open it." "How do you know?" Krex demanded. Sonara pointed to the capsule's surface. A faint pattern shimmered, simple shapes, like symbols a child might draw. They shifted slowly, forming a single clear image. A door. Vila stared. "They're telling us to step through." "Into what?" Ian whispered. The capsule clicked, almost like it heard her fear. Then it unfolded. Not mechanically. Organically. Like a flower opening. Inside was a sphere of light, floating, no larger than Vila's palm. It pulsed gently, like a heartbeat. And then the voice came. Not from speakers. Not from air vibration. It arrived inside their minds, translated instantly into each language, perfectly shaped to each listener's understanding. "We remember." Several council members flinched as if struck. The voice continued, calm and steady. "We do not come to punish children for the sins of ancestors. We come to end the lie." Vila swallowed hard. "Who are you?" A pause. A strange feeling passed through the room, like being looked at from very far away. We are humanity. Krex's hand moved toward his weapon. Vila snapped, "Stand down." The voice didn't change. "Do not threaten us. You cannot." The air felt heavier. Not because of force. Because of certainty. Then the final words. "One representative. 1 hour. Bring your bravest truth." The light sphere dimmed. The capsule folded back into nothingness. And the entire command center stood in stunned silence, choosing the one who would speak. The accord fell into panic again. Some demanded a surrender. Some demanded war. Some demanded silence, hoping the humans would leave if ignored. But Vila knew the truth. Humans did not cross galaxies by accident. They were here for a reason. He chose Ambassador Lyra Venn, not because she was fearless, but because she asked questions others avoided. She was young by political standards, sharp-minded, and famous for refusing to accept official stories. If anyone could survive a meeting with humanity, it was someone who could admit the past. Lyra stood before Vila in the launch bay. "You're sending me to monsters," she said quietly. Vila shook his head. "No. I'm sending you to the people we made into monsters, and then trapped." Lyra's throat tightened. "If they kill me." "They won't," Vila said. "How can you be sure?" Vila looked up through the bay's open ceiling at the human ship hanging like a star-made shadow. "Because they asked for truth," he said. "Not blood." The step into the unknown. Lyra's shuttle rose alone, escorted by unmanned drones at a distance. No weapons armed. No aggressive posture. As her shuttle approached the massive human vessel, the ship's surface shifted, making a smooth opening. No doors. No airlocks. Just a gentle change, like a wave parting. Her shuttle entered. Inside, there was no hangar. No walls. No visible structure. Instead, the space around her turned into something impossible. It looked like a night sky filled with soft floating lights, like stars inside a room. Her shuttle hovered in place without thrusters, held by something she could not sense. Then the shuttle's door unlocked by itself. A calm voice sounded again, this time through the shuttle speakers. "Ambassador Lyra Venn. Welcome." Her hands shook as she stood. She walked out. Her boots did not touch metal. They touched something that felt like warm stone, solid but slightly alive. She turned slowly. The interior of the human ship was not a room. It was a place. A wide open space like a valley of light, with strange flowing shapes rising like mountains. Above her, patterns moved like auroras in liquid sky. She realized then, she was not inside a ship. She was inside a controlled pocket of reality. And humanity was guiding the laws of physics like a musician guiding sound. A figure approached. Humanoid shape. 2 arms. 2 legs. 1 head. But it did not walk. It simply arrived, a few steps closer each moment without crossing the distance between. The figure wore no armor. No uniform. Just a simple dark cloak with a glowing emblem, Earth symbol and the same unsettling smile beneath it. Its face was human. But not like the old records. This human's eyes were not fully biological. They shimmered like deep water reflecting stars. The skin had faint lines, almost like circuitry under flesh. And the expression was calm. Not angry. Not joyful. Just aware. "My name is Noah Reed," the human said. His voice was normal, warm even. "I'm the first speaker." Lyra struggled to breathe. First speaker, of what? Noah looked past her, as if he could see the entire planet through the ship. "Of the return," he said. "Of the truth. Of the next era." Lyra swallowed. "Why are you here?" Noah's lips lifted slightly. Not a friendly smile. A careful one. "The galaxy forgot war," he said softly. "So you forgot what you did." Lyra tried to speak, but her voice cracked. "We were told humanity was extinct." Noah nodded. "That was the lie you were raised inside." He took a slow breath, and for a moment Lyra sensed something behind his calm, a deep pressure, like a storm held in a bottle. For 3,000 years, Noah said, we lived behind a wall you believed eternal. We had two choices, burn in hatred, or become better than hatred. Lyra's eyes stung. And what did you choose? Noah looked at her like she was a child asking what fire is. We chose both, he said. Then he raised a hand and the air in front of them shimmered. A scene appeared, like a window opening into another place. It showed Earth. But not the Earth Lyra expected. The planet was wrapped in shining rings, covered in cities that glowed softly, not like metal, but like living ecosystems. Vast structures floated above oceans, and the moon had become a garden of light. The sun itself had a strange halo, like something was gently shaping it. This is what we built, Noah said. In a cage. Lyra whispered, how? Noah's eyes narrowed slightly. By doing what humans always do, he said. We learned. He leaned closer. And now, he said, voice suddenly colder, we want to know something. Lyra felt her heart pound. What? Noah's gaze sharpened like a blade. Will you keep lying, he asked, or will you finally grow up and face what you did, like a civilized species? The valley around them seemed to pause, like the ship itself was listening. Lyra realized the truth. This was not a negotiation. This was a test. And humanity already knew the answer they wanted. The deadline. Noah stepped back. In 1 hour, he said, the Stellar Accord will receive a full archive of what you erased. Every war record. Every crime. Every lie. Broadcast to every world. No more hidden history. Lyra gasped. That could collapse the entire Accord. Noah nodded. Calm. Good, he said. Then, softer. Real peace cannot be built on amnesia. Lyra's voice trembled. And if the galaxy panics? If they attack you? Noah's smile returned. That same simple curve. The one that felt more dangerous than any weapon. Then, he said, we will show them what 3,000 years of human creativity looks like. The window scene shifted again. Now Lyra saw something darker. A black sphere, larger than planets, floating near the sole sun. It swallowed light. It bent space. It made her bones ache just by looking at it. What is that? She whispered. Noah didn't look away. Our door, he said. Our shield. Our reminder. Lyra's mouth went dry. A weapon. Noah paused. Then said carefully. It is a promise. The broadcast that shook the stars. The archive went live exactly 1 hour later. Across the galaxy, on every world, station, and colony, screens activated without permission. No firewall stopped it. No system blocked it. Even civilizations that believed themselves isolated found the signal waiting inside their networks, patient and unavoidable. History unfolded. Not rewritten. Not softened. Shown exactly as it had happened. The first contact footage played in raw detail. Alien warships over Earth's orbit. Cities burning after defensive misunderstandings. Civilian evacuation ships destroyed because they were unidentified. Children screaming. Parents shielding them. Then came humanity's response. Clips of early human ships, small, fragile, outmatched, charging into impossible battles. Pilots laughing through terror. Engineers rebuilding fleets from wreckage. Scientists tearing alien tech apart with bare hands and sleepless eyes. The galaxy watched as humanity learned to fight gods. Council chambers across the stars fell silent. Entire species saw the truth for the first time. They had not defeated humanity. They had imprisoned it. Panic, fear, and old instincts. On Aurelian Prime, the Stellar Accord collapsed into chaos. This will cause revolutions, cried one delegate. Our people will demand justice, screamed another. Marshal Krex Varuan slammed his fist onto the table. This is exactly why we should have struck first. High Chancellor Vila stood frozen, watching his own people confront the past they had buried. He saw fear, guilt, denial, and something worse. Pride. Some species still believed themselves superior. And superiority breeds the most dangerous decisions. A minor fleet commander, acting without authorization, made 3 Accord warships fired. It was not an attack meant to win, just a warning shot, launched at a human vessel orbiting the trade world Keltha. The galaxy held its breath. Humanity answers without anger. The human ship did not raise shields. It did not dodge. The energy beams struck its hull and vanished. Not absorbed. Not deflected. Erased. Space itself folded gently around the impact, smoothing reality like a hand over water. Then the human ship moved. Not toward Keltha. Toward the firing ships. The human vessel did not accelerate. It arrived. The 3 Accord warships simply stopped. Their engines shut down. Their weapons powered off. Their crews froze as gravity vanished and reappeared in controlled waves. A voice spoke, not loud, not threatening, broadcast directly into every ship involved. "This is why we waited," Noah Reed said calmly. "You still think fear should speak first." The 3 warships were folded inward, compressed into spheres no larger than cargo pods. No explosions. No debris. No death. They were placed gently into orbit around the human vessel like trophies. Then the human ship returned to its original position. No retaliation. No pursuit. Just a message. "We are not here to conquer you. We are here to see if you deserve to survive your own history." Across the galaxy, something changed. For the first time in 3,000 years, the humans were not the terrifying ones. The truth of the Black Sphere. Inside the human vessel, Ambassador Lyra Venn stood trembling as Noah guided her deeper into the ship's reality pocket. The environment shifted around them, responding to thought and intention rather than movement. They stood before a projection of the massive black sphere she had seen earlier. "It's not a weapon," Noah said, answering her unspoken fear. "Not in the way you think." "What is it?" Lyra asked. Noah folded his hands behind his back. "It's a decision." He gestured, and the projection expanded, revealing layers within layers, dimensions folded inside dimensions. "During our imprisonment," Noah continued, "we learned something simple but terrifying. Reality is not fixed. It is negotiable." Lyra stared in awe. "The sphere is a contained singularity of possibilities," Noah said. "A door to universes that never existed. Timelines that were never born. We can step outside causality itself." Lyra's breath caught. "You could escape anywhere." "Yes," Noah said. "At any time." "Then why stay?" she whispered. Noah looked at her, truly looked at her. "Because power without purpose turns monsters into gods," he said. "And gods make worse mistakes than monsters." Lyra felt tears rise in her eyes. "You changed." Noah nodded. "So did you. You just didn't notice." The choice humanity made. The projection shifted again, showing human worlds inside the Sol system. Children learning alongside artificial minds. Cities grown, not built. Humans living longer, stronger, but calmer. "We didn't spend 3,000 years sharpening knives," Noah said. "We spent it asking why we held them in the first place." He turned to her. "You feared we would return for revenge," he said. "That fear shaped your silence." "Yes," Lyra admitted. Noah's expression softened. "Revenge is loud. It burns fast. And then it leaves nothing." He pointed toward the stars beyond the projection. "We chose something harder," he said. "We chose responsibility." Lyra swallowed. Responsibility for what? Noah's eyes hardened, not with anger, but with weight. For becoming something no one else could stop. The ultimatum. The Stellar Accord received humanity's final message hours later. Not a threat. Not a demand. A proposal. Humanity would not rule the galaxy. Humanity would not dismantle the Accord by force. But the truth would remain public. The lies would never return. Every species would confront its history. And one final condition. The veil will never exist again, Noah's voice said. No species will ever be erased for convenience. If the Accord accepted, humanity would share knowledge, medicine, energy, physics that ended scarcity. If they refused, humanity would leave. Not in defeat. In disappointment. We will step beyond this galaxy, Noah concluded, and take our future elsewhere. Alone. The message ended. Vila sank into his seat. He finally understood the real horror. Humanity no longer needed the galaxy. The decision that defined an era. Across countless worlds, debates raged. Fear clashed with hope. Pride battled survival. Some wanted to reject humanity. Others realized the truth. This was not a test of power. It was a test of maturity. Lyra stood once more before Noah as the final votes were counted. "Are you prepared for them to fail?" she asked quietly. Noah looked toward the stars. "Yes," he said. "That's why we learned to leave." A long silence passed. Then a signal arrived. The Accord had voted. By a narrow margin. They accepted. Noah closed his eyes. Not in triumph. In relief. "Then," he said, opening them again, "welcome to a galaxy that finally remembers what peace is supposed to cost." Outside, the human ships shifted formation, not aggressively, but openly. For the first time, they lowered their silence. And the stars themselves seemed to breathe again. A galaxy tries to learn. The first days after the Accord's decision felt unreal. Human ships remained in orbit, but their posture changed. Weapons that had never been visible faded completely. Communication channels opened, not with commands, but with offers. Medical data that cured diseases thought eternal. Energy systems that made scarcity meaningless. Environmental restoration methods that healed poisoned worlds in months instead of centuries. Some species welcomed it with relief. Others accepted it with clenched teeth. Fear does not vanish just because the truth arrives. High Chancellor Vila Thane watched the transition unfold from his chamber. For the first time in centuries, the Stellar Accord was not in control. Humanity was not ruling, but they were leading, simply by being more advanced than anyone else. And that made many uncomfortable. "They're reshaping us," Marshal Krex Varuen growled during a closed council session. Without firing a single shot. "They're helping us," Scholar Ilian replied. Krex's eyes burned. "That's worse. Dependence is just conquest with a smile." Vila said nothing. He had lived long enough to recognize fear wearing the mask of pride. The fracture. Not all worlds accepted humanity's return. On the outer edges of Accord space, a coalition of old military powers formed quietly. They called themselves the Purity Front, species that believed the galaxy had grown weak under peace and would now grow weaker under human influence. They believed humanity was a mistake that should have stayed erased. And mistakes, they believed, should be corrected. Their plan was simple. If humanity was truly beyond fear, then fear must be made larger. The trap. Ambassador Lyra Ven was aboard a human envoy vessel above the neutral world Tyraxis when the attack began. There was no warning. Space folded violently as a weapon unlike anything recorded tore through local reality. A Purity Front fleet emerged from a hidden dimension, ships bristling with stolen human-derived technology, twisted and unstable. They fired immediately. The envoy vessel did not dodge. It did not retaliate. It shielded Tyraxis. The sky above the planet burned as energy meant to kill gods was absorbed, redirected, and dispersed into harmless light. Still, the attack continued. "They're trying to force your hand," Lyra said, gripping the rail as reality trembled. Noah Reed stood beside her, calm as ever. "Yes," he said. "They want us to remind the galaxy why we were feared." "And will you?" she asked. Noah watched the attacking fleet. "No," he said quietly. "We'll remind them why fear failed." Humanity's true weapon. The human response was not destruction. It was revelation. Across the Purity Front fleet, systems shut down, not from hacking, but from understanding. Their stolen technology unraveled itself, responding to deeper human command structures embedded long ago. Their ships didn't explode. They opened. Hull plates unfolded. Weapons disassembled. Power cores dimmed safely. The attacking fleet was left drifting, alive, helpless, and fully exposed. Then something extraordinary happened. Human ships transmitted their internal records to the enemy. Images of Earth burning, of human children hiding in shelters, of the veil sealing shut, of 3,000 years spent not screaming, but building. Every Purity Front commander received the same final message. "You are afraid," Noah said. "We understand that fear. We lived inside it. But if you choose violence now, it will not be because we are monsters, it will be because you are." The Purity Front surrendered. Not because they were defeated, but because they were seen. The weight of memory. The aftermath rippled through the galaxy. Species that had quietly supported the Purity Front withdrew in shame. Others began releasing their own buried histories, wars, purges, erased cultures. Humanity did not judge. They listened. They archived. They remembered. Vila watched as the Accord transformed, not into an empire, but into something fragile and honest. For the first time, peace was not effortless. It required courage. A question with no easy answer. Lyra met Noah again days later, standing on a platform overlooking Tyraxis, its skies finally calm. "You could have ended them," she said. "Everyone knows that now." "Yes," Noah replied. "Why didn't you?" Noah was silent for a long moment. "Because if we destroy everyone who reminds us of our past," he said, "we become trapped inside it forever." Lyra nodded slowly. "So this is forgiveness." Noah looked at the stars. "No," he said. "This is restraint." The shadow beyond the stars. But even as the galaxy began to heal, humanity's deepest sensors detected something else. Something old. Something vast. Something that had noticed humanity's growth during their long isolation. At the edge of known reality, beyond where even human exploration had gone, something stirred. Not drawn by fear. Drawn by curiosity. Noah stood before a council of humans, beings who no longer fully fit any single definition of species. "The galaxy is not the final test," he said. "It never was." A projection appeared, an impossible structure moving between universes, consuming stars as effortlessly as breath. Lyra felt her blood run cold. "What is that?" she asked. Noah's voice was steady. "That," he said, "is why we needed to grow up." The final truth. The Stellar Accord was invited, not ordered, to witness humanity's next choice. Run. Or stand together. Vila, old and tired, finally understood the greatest irony of all. The species they had tried to erase had become the galaxy's shield. And now, after 3,000 years of peace built on a lie, the truth demanded something harder than war. Unity. Humanity had forgiven the galaxy. Now the galaxy would have to prove it deserved that forgiveness. The threat beyond everything. The thing beyond the edge of reality did not announce itself. It did not speak. It did not threaten. It simply arrived. Stars vanished first, not exploding, not collapsing, just gone, like chalk wiped from a board. Entire systems fell silent without panic, without warning. No debris. No radiation. Only absence. Human sensors screamed. Alien sensors failed completely. The galaxy finally understood something far worse than war existed. High Chancellor Vila watched the reports in numb silence. "All our fleets together couldn't slow that," he whispered. Noah Reed stood beside him, hands clasped behind his back. "No," Noah agreed. "That's why we didn't build fleets." Why humanity waited. Across human space, something ancient activated. Not a weapon. A network. The black spheres humanity had built during their long imprisonment, dozens of them, hidden, dormant, began to resonate. Space folded gently between them, creating a structure that wrapped the galaxy like an unseen hand. Lyra stared in awe. "You built this. while trapped. Noah nodded. We didn't know what would come. We only knew something would. He turned to her. When you live 3,000 years behind a wall, he said, you stop asking how to escape, and start asking why the universe allowed you to exist at all. The choice that defined humanity. The entity reached the outer boundary of the network. Reality warped violently. Alien worlds panicked. Human cities went silent. And then humanity did something no one expected. They opened the network. They invited the entity inside. Vila's voice broke. You're letting it in. No, Noah said calmly. We're letting it be understood. The black spheres pulsed. Information flooded reality. Not data, not language, but experience. Humanity did not attack the entity. They shared themselves. Every failure. Every war. Every moment of cruelty and kindness. Every child born during the war. Every tear shed behind the veil. Every lesson learned during 3,000 years of isolation. The entity slowed. For the first time, it reacted. Understanding the enemy. The entity was not evil. It was inevitable. A cosmic process that consumed civilizations before they became dangerous enough to break reality itself. Humanity, the entity realized, had reached that threshold. And then, stopped. Noah spoke, not with words, but intent. We chose not to become gods. The network tightened, not as a prison, but as a boundary. A line humanity refused to cross. The entity withdrew. Not defeated. Convinced. After the silence. When the stars returned, the galaxy was forever changed. Humanity dismantled the black spheres. One by one. They erased their greatest weapons from existence. Vila stared in disbelief. You could have ruled everything. Noah smiled, truly smiled this time. Yes, he said. That's why we didn't. What peace really means. Years later, the galaxy remembered this moment not as a war, but as a turning point. The stellar accord dissolved, not in shame, but in humility. A new council formed. Humans did not lead it. They joined it. History was never erased again. No species was ever hidden. No fear was buried. Lyra stood on Earth, real Earth, watching alien children play beside human ones under a sky no longer guarded by lies. She finally understood. Peace was not the absence of war. Peace was the presence of responsibility. The final lesson. Humanity had been trapped. Humanity had been feared. Humanity had been offered godhood. And humanity had refused. Because the most powerful thing humans ever built was restraint. The end, and the beginning. Somewhere in the quiet dark between galaxies, other things watched. They saw a species that learned too fast, adapted too well, and chose wisdom anyway. For the first time in the universe's long history, the future felt safe. Because humans were smiling. Not because they had won, but because they finally understood why they were here.